with ZipRecruiter.
During a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on child safety online, Democratic Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois announced plans to reintroduce bipartisan legislation meant to make the internet safer for kids.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children receives 100,000 reports to its cyber tip line every single day.
Some lawmakers say social media companies fail to protect children from sexual predators on their platforms. 2 people are dead after 2 small planes collided in midair north of Tucson, Arizona today.
Little appears to remain of one of the aircraft. Burned wreckage on the desert floor. The FAA says 2 small planes, one a Lancer and the other a Cessna, were flying near Marana Regional Airport when they hit near a runway. There were 2 people on each plane. The FAA says after the 2 hit, the Cessna was able to land, but the Lancer hit the ground and caught fire. 2 people on board were killed. The NTSB and FAA are on their way to the scene to investigate. Alex Stone, ABC News.
A real mystery at sea. Hosts of many popular true crime podcasts will headline a true crime-themed cruise in 2026, billed as a first-of-its-kind immersive mystery experience at sea. The 4-night cruise from Miami to Nassau, Bahamas will feature murder mystery events, workshops, a crime-solving immersive theater, and trivia nights. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
4:05 now on this cloudy Wednesday afternoon. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News update as we are under a winter weather advisory now from the National Weather Service as a possibility of several inches of snow possible through tomorrow night. I'll get to your weather forecast coming up in just a minute. Well, a bill offering a solution to food insecurity among Utah children is now moving to the House floor. Now, if the bill becomes law, the free lunch program would expand to include more Utah children. House Bill 100, which is sponsored by Provo Representative Tyler Clancy, would provide free lunch to 40,000 more Utah children. Now, under the bill, families for reduced-price meals would move into the free meal category. Currently, to qualify for free meals, a family of 5 cannot earn more than $47,000 a year. However, under the proposed legislation, the threshold would increase to $67,000 a year. Now, some concerns have been raised about the bill's proposed price tag, and under the original language, the cost would have been around $6 million a year. Representative Clancy has offered a substitute in that only students in kindergarten through 6th grade would be eligible for the free lunches. Now, Tuesday, the bill passed the House Education Committee by a vote of 8-3 and is now moving to the House floor for debate. Well, a complex rescue of an injured snowmobiler was conducted in Wasatch County earlier this week. Officials with the Wasatch County Search and Rescue said they received a call at around 12:30 Monday of a injured snowmobiler with broken ribs that it was having difficulty breathing in the Timber Lakes area. Now, weather conditions prevented the use of a Lifeline helicopter, and trails had about 2 feet of new snow on them, and a tree even had to be cut down in order to get a snow ambulance into the injured person. Now, the search and rescue teams and EMTs were able to get the snowmobiler and transport them down to an ambulance. And a bizarre story out of Utah County where a 22-year-old Arizona woman was arrested after a prolonged pursuit on I-15 that began with a trooper attempting to stop a vehicle that was traveling at night without its headlights on. Now, the trooper attempted the traffic stop Monday at around 7 o'clock in Provo. Now, a probable cause affidavit noted the driver's headlights and taillights were off despite the dark conditions after sunset. The vehicle slowed briefly when the trooper initiated the traffic stop, but it actually continued then as the speeds of the vehicle continued between 65 and 70 miles an hour for another 11 miles. Now, the driver finally came to a stop on an off-ramp, and after being ordered out of the vehicle at gunpoint, the woman said that she had seen the trooper's lights, but she couldn't hear the siren due to the volume of music playing in her car, and she didn't believe that she was being pulled over for any reason because she didn't think the trooper had a valid reason to stop her. Well, weather-wise, going to continue to see snow in the forecast overnight tonight. Now, this winter weather advisory from the National Weather Service says that we could see between 1 to 4 inches of snow in the valley, with 6 inches of snow on the benches. More expected to fall in the mountains area. Now, they are advising motorists be cautious, especially if you are traveling either through Logan or Sardine Canyon, as we're going to continue to see this chance of snow overnight tonight into tomorrow, and then turning into rain tomorrow afternoon before the storm moves out of the area. I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Update. News and weather this hour brought to you by Firehouse Subs. And coming up next, it's Jason Williams and KVNU's For the People.
If the cold temps lately have you turning up the thermostat, I've got a more efficient way to keep your home comfortable. Call Cardall's Insulation. That's right, insulation. Now you're probably wondering, does insulation actually go bad? Well, if your home was built before 1980, you should really consider new insulation, because today's insulation is so much better. Even a lot of newer homes don't have sufficient insulation. So if your home is cold, if you feel a draft, call 755-5012. Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012.
KVNU Aggie Game Day on 102 FM, 610 AM, and at kvnutalk.com.
Cache Valley, get ready to rock. This year's Cache Valley Cruise in Concert is bringing you 2 legendary rock bands. Opening the stage, the high-energy rock band Lit. It's no surprise to me, I am my own worst enemy. Lit. And headlining the night, the multi-platinum powerhouse Fuel. Tickets are on sale now at the Cache Valley Cruisin' website or in store at Lee's Marketplace. 2 epic rock bands, one night, Thursday, July 3rd. Lit, Fuel, rockin' the night for this year's Cache Valley Cruisin' concert. The Cache Valley Cruisin'. Guys, music, and memories you don't want to miss. Grab your tickets now at Lee's Marketplace or online at the Cache Valley Cruisin' website.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Wednesday, February 19th. I'm Jason Williams. We have a packed show today. This happens once in a while when we have to reschedule, rearrange things, and the way it played out this year. Our county hour with Cache County Executive David Zook will coincide today with our regularly scheduled Speak to the Mayor segment with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines. And so, like I say, back-to-back special guests here for both hours of the show today. Tomorrow we'll get back to highlighting, well, I don't know if highlight is the right word this session, but keeping an eye on the legislature on tomorrow's program, as well as the For the People Theater Hour with Charlie Schill. But today, again, working backwards through the show, we will wrap things up with Cache County Executive David Zook in the County Hour. But here in Hour 1, it is time for this month's installment of Speak to the Mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio. And Mayor Daines, always appreciate your time. I know that for a mayor or a council member or even sometimes city administrators, taking an hour out of your afternoon is not an easy thing to do. And I would guess that's more likely the case each day with Logan City. There's so much going on these days.
It is busy, but I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you making the time to do this with us once a month for years now. And it is, I mentioned it just a little bit there, and I don't want to stir up any trouble. Well, yes, I'd love to stir up trouble, but
you, Jason?
No, never, right? Any thoughts on the legislative session? It seems at least, it's been friendlier to cities than some had worried because of some remarks that have been made in sessions past. But it appears at least to have been very city friendly so far.
There's some bills that we are definitely watching closely, and we work collaboratively with the Utah League of Cities and Towns. Every city and town in the state is a member, and so they analyze carefully all those bills for their impacts on cities. And their message to the legislators is not preemption, but collaboration. Let's collaborate and work on these bills to make them better for everyone.
That's a good idea.
We have the lived experience. We're in the trenches.
Sure.
And so I think that sort of that mindset, which we've been using for the last couple of years, is paying some dividends. And again, we try and reach out to our local legislators to say, hey, this is how this bill would impact Logan City, or again, I know other mayors certainly do the same thing. So there's some that we're watching that we're still a little concerned about, but amendments can be made to improve them. Sometimes they just die of themselves, but it's not over till it's over.
That's right. And we're only on, I think, day 22, so we've got a ways to go still. But I just thought I'd bring it up because I know cities have always paid close attention to the legislative session, but especially lately with some lawmakers, thankfully not lawmakers from northern Utah, but some lawmakers in the past making comments that had cities very worried about the legislature taking some decision-making power away from them. And that seems to have, thankfully, at least for the time being, died away. The idea of the legislature setting zoning rules for every city is so horrifying to think about.
It's certainly problematic. And again, and they also several years ago passed a number of bills. And, we've just said, let's give these bills time to go into effect. Again, as we've tried to remind them, cities don't build houses. We approve them. We permit them.
Sure.
But it often takes, there are a number of building permits out there. We know housing, affordable housing of any type is, one of the issues our state is facing. But again, with things like interest rates, which none of us control, some of those other factors are really more, they were saying, well, cities aren't permitting housing. And again, the league then polls all the cities, provides data and says, look, this is how many permits are outstanding. They just haven't been able to, move forward due to construction costs, due to interest rates, due to whatever it may be. So we've tried to, again, help them understand the big picture, which I think is paying off.
That's good to hear. This is, it's definitely an anxious time anytime the legislature's in session, and it's positive to hear. We also have, of course, great representatives here in Cache Valley that go, make sure our voice, the voice of cities and the county as well, are heard in the legislative session. And shifting gears away from the session, I've mentioned this before. I have to mention it again because every time I drive by and see this, and I know this isn't why the design of the library was what it was, but an unintended benefit, I think, of the design of the new library in downtown is you drive past at night sometimes, and you get, for me, the first time ever, a real sense of how used that building is. I think it was in the evening. It was after dark, sundown, and the lights were on the building. I was driving past, and I'm not exaggerating. I'll bet at that time of night, there were 25, 30 people inside. You could see as I was waiting in traffic out there, sitting at the desks, there was some kind of little group and presentation going on near the lobby by the tree. And people upstairs, I could see them, pulling books off shelves and cracking them open. It's really cool to see that much activity at the city library. And again, I know that's not why the big windows were put in, but it is. It's worth noting that
it is
there's
definitely
that much use.
used. And the other thing that you may not have seen, our community room is just a great resource for the entire community. As you know, you have to be a Logan resident or purchase a card to actually check out materials, but the community room is open to all. So nonprofit groups, no matter what community they're housed in, who is part of their membership,
Oh, sure.
That is a resource that you can schedule that room. Again, there's no charge unless you're having food or a for-profit group. But for community nonprofits, it's just a great resource to have that kind of, public meeting space where people can do all kinds of community-related business.
It's fun to see. And again, it's just a reminder that, the city library, that your local public library is still a place that draws quite a crowd. And this was just a random weeknight. I don't think there was anything special going on. But yeah, just a lot of people inside. It was fun to see.
Right. And then again, what you don't see, the number of people that use the digital resources
sure.
that log in and access that way. So there's many ways that people utilize the library/community center. Again, it's a great resource. And again, it really cleaned up kind of a messy corner downtown.
Yeah.
It brings people to the downtown. So again, it also
looks very nice.
reinforces that, that concept of revitalizing downtown.
Sure. And yeah, all of this just, a block's walk away from everything else. And very cool to see. Talking again with the Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio. And before we go to our first break, Mayor Daines, there was news out last week about a new rebate program in Logan City, and it's gotten some attention, gotten some excitement, actually. It's being referred to as the Switch and Save program, which I like. I'm a little jealous. I'm not a Logan resident, so this isn't something I can take advantage of, but Logan residents have to be pretty excited about this.
Exactly. We got a grant through UCare, and you can turn in an old, gas-powered implement for your yard, whether it be a lawnmower, a snowblower, and get a great rebate towards a new electric implement of the same kind. So again, it helps clear our air.
Sure.
They're wonderful to use. I know we have some in our own yard that we use, and they're light, they're quiet, they're really interesting. And so you can apply for the program. Again, there's a limited number of kind of funds, rebates that we can give out. But if you're interested in switching to cleaner equipment for your yard equipment, I'd encourage you to get on the city's website and check that out.
It's very cool stuff. And again, loganutah.gov, you can see this right on the front page. A $50 rebate for a corded snowblower or lawnmower, $100 rebate for battery-operated snowblowers and lawnmowers. And low-income customers, battery-operated equipment only can get up to a $200 rebate. So very cool stuff. And also, if you've never had a chance to use one of these, it's a little bit of an adjustment. The first time I used an electric lawnmower, it was a little weird because you're used to that noise and that weight. And but man, it was slick. It was quiet. I could actually hear my audiobook. So yeah, Logan residents, take advantage. loganutah.gov, again, right on the main page there, you'll see a link to this new Switch and Save electric yard equipment rebate program through UCare, partnering with Logan City. And Speak to the Mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio continues right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
From the land you love to the jobs you do.
This time of year, the farms, ranches, and fields might be quiet, but if you make your living off the land, the real work is just getting started. Now is the perfect time to prepare for the busy spring ahead. Tash Equipment can service or repair almost any tractor, make, or model. Don't wait until the fields are calling. Beat the spring rush. Visit Cash Equipment in Hyde Park and online at cashequipment.com.
Cash Equipment's here to see you through.
Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Riggs. Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Riggs. If you're having heating trouble and you need your furnace fixed, just pick up the phone and call Gary Riggs. 435-512-6633. We'll come to you. Our service fee is low, just $25. We repair all brands and have certified installers. Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Riggs. Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Riggs.
He was just a teenager when his father died in a robbery. He laid awake one night and imagined a place where good would always defeat evil, every wrong made right. He imagined a world of truth, justice, and the American way. Through his loss, Jerry Siegel imagined a new hero. His imagination created Superman. Imagination, pass it on. from passidon.com.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
For the people. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio with us. We have a lot of Logan-related news to cover, so we'll move right along here. And one of those items, as you said yourself, Mayor Daines, this is obviously a Logan-specific discussion, but this does affect and should interest everyone in the Valley because we're talking about the future of Logan Main Street. But finally, after many delays and a lot of pressure from Logan leaders, county leaders, and even our state leaders at times to get UDOT to prioritize this, UDOT has finally moved Logan Main Street up on their priorities list, and they're hosting a public meeting about this next week, next Tuesday, in fact, at Mount Logan Middle School, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. And as I understand it, Mayor, there will be a lot of presentations and discussion around this big study they're going to do. The challenge with Logan Main Street really is that it's also U.S. Highway 8991. It's not, Logan doesn't get to decide what happens with its own Main Street because this is a state highway.
Right. And I would really expand that from Logan to the other municipalities. And UDOT, to their credit, has included the other municipalities in the area because everyone uses it. You know, we get to the other municipalities by going through Logan.
Sure.
So it was a large group of elected officials, stakeholders that were involved in the process. And again, this is now the public's chance to see some of the ideas, and some of them are a little bit out of the box, a little different. So
I'm excited by that.
we just want to try to identify potential motorized and non-motorized solutions. I mean, they've looked at bike ped as well as, cars and automobiles, vehicles. So come provide your input. See, they'll have, again, some designs mocked up and possibilities. Also, if you can't attend the meeting, look on the city website, and there is a way to provide feedback and public comment through March 18th. So again, if you can't come in person but want to look at, the study, the designs, again, you can probably link that on your website. It's a UDOT input.utah.gov/US 91 study.
Yeah.
But again, some interesting potential improvements. They will be expensive, but they're trying to enhance mobility on US 8991. But this affects a lot of people in the Valley. So take the time to come or provide feedback. They'd love to have comment.
That is, I looking ahead a bit at today's show, I went in and watched, part of the presentation that is up there as you mentioned, UDOT input. Make sure I get this right. Gotta get my readers on here. UDOT.input.utah.gov/US 91 study. There are, you mentioned some out of the box things, but I really like this. They kind of went through. So UDOT, in the back of my mind, I knew they were doing this, but they really understand Logan City traffic patterns. They have done their homework on Logan City traffic. That is true. They really even off of Main Street.
Exactly. And that, again, there's only so much capacity on Main Street. So they've, again, looked outside of the box and said, maybe we need to help with some what are typically city roads. And normally UDOT doesn't help in terms of funding. They don't help city roads, but they're looking at maybe there are some key, corridors that we do need to invest in because they help take pressure off Main Street. So
Sure.
Lots to think about.
One I hadn't thought of, and I know, again, this is just, they're just spitballing here, but I had not thought of one proposal that will be up for discussion at this meeting is to take some of the pressure off Main Street by, down south of 7th South, going east off, and an avenue to go east off of Main Street. So people headed into those, the subdivision areas and the housing areas off of Main Street would have like an earlier outlet to get up there.
Right.
And I bring that up, not that that's something that's going to happen. It's something that will just be talked about at this meeting as a potential option. But I realize there are a lot of options that involve not just changes to Main Street, but, other roads that might take some pressure off.
Right. But again, it's like, well, do you take the Y and instead of, the 3 ways we have now, do you make it kind of a 4? It would take a major redesign, obviously. But
Sure.
Again, do you then send some of the traffic off to the east to other routes to help with that? So definitely some interesting thing that UDOT is seeking public input on these potential ideas.
That is, and also, to be fair to listeners, we're not talking about something that is going to be shovel ready next summer, right?
No.
This is a years long process but this is the ball rolling finally.
Right. But if you want to hear about a project that will affect Main Street this summer.
Oh, really?
But shovel ready, actually, people are.
I knew you'd have something.
People are already noticing that because as you cross, the Logan River on Main Street there at 600 South, there's already construction. There's, some lane detours. And that is utility relocation, which is the first step before they build the pedestrian underpass there, which will provide active transportation, pedestrian connections on our trail system from, the west side of the street, which goes all the way out to Trapper Park. Will connect to 100 East, and then people can go on up to Merlin Olson and the Boulevard Trail and so on. But this has been a long time coming. We've talked about this forever, and it kept getting delayed because there were additional costs, and UDOT wanted to manage the project. But even though they're going to make that project as short as possible by using, boxes that they put in rather than a cast-in-place pedestrian underpass.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, again, they're trying to impact traffic as little as possible, but there will be times, and they have a 60-day window for construction, so it's not an unlimited window. But during that time, there will be night closures. During the day, they have to maintain at least one lane of travel in each way. But think what's going to happen if Main Street is down to one lane of travel. There are going to be some inconveniences, and we're sorry that is kind of part of the process. But
sure. And we've been through it before, right?
Right.
We know how to do this.
And again, UDOT will try and manage it the very best they can to keep traffic flowing. But an exciting project that's coming.
Yeah.
With a little bit of pain in the process, but
that is, and I assume that they'll really get to work on that as soon as weather kind of permits.
It kind of depends on the contractor. Again, they've given them this 60-day window, and they do have some flexibility. That's one tool they use to try and get better bids. Is they give them a little more flexibility in timing in terms of when it works for the contractor's schedule to do it. But then once they start, the clock's ticking, and they have to be done in 60 days, or there are penalties. So
that's a creative way to do that, and I'd never thought of that. That's a great way to get the bids coming in a little cheaper. Very cool stuff. I'm excited about that. I know there are a lot of options now at that end of town that exist long before that was thought of as a pedestrian area. And so I think people are going to be excited about the idea of that far south being able to cross Main Street.
Right, and just a safety feature.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some unfortunate, accidents, fatalities with people trying to run across 4 lanes of Main Street traffic. And that's never a good idea, clearly. But you had to go such a long distance to find any legitimate way for a pedestrian to cross with a light. So we're looking forward to having that safety feature, which will also accommodate active transportation.
And I would assume that this is also going to attract more interest from businesses in locating in these areas as well. There already is a lot of interest. As you've seen, it's now kind of a hub of activity down there at the south end of the valley, or south end of Main Street. But this is now, I think, something this simple, a pedestrian underpass. It becomes a destination even more for even more types of businesses.
Right. People can get back and forth between the different businesses, the different restaurants. So
yeah,
another great thing for South Main. Again, think about South Main, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, because I remember we started when I was still in city council thinking we need to do something. And then as mayor, that was one through a redevelopment agency and some other things we were able to really fix up, the south entrance. It was really rough before, and we put in curb and gutter and park strip and trees and decorative lighting and really cleaned that up.
It looks very nice.
And then went on to the next step of, the development happened. And
people kind of forget this, but at a time not that long ago, well, longer than I maybe want to admit age-wise, but that there was a 7-Eleven there on the west side or east side of Main Street, and that was kind of the end of the businesses. And then it was just sort of empty spots. There was a place where someone was storing large equipment, construction equipment. There was like an RV parts and repair store, but it was impossible to get into unless you were headed north. And that was it. That was that. But now it's a pretty vibrant part of town. And I know a lot of people head there, especially on their lunch breaks now. So I'm excited about the pedestrian underpass, and I'm glad that is getting underway. For listeners, again, as the mayor mentioned, you've seen a little bit of this already. There's a bit of a lane shift happening there, as the mayor explained. That is utility realignment to get ready for this project, and then that pedestrian underpass project will get underway throughout the summer. And as the mayor said, there may be some intermittent lane closures here and there, so keep an eye out for that. But welcome project, to say the least, and a lot of exciting stuff, as you've just heard, happening when it comes to Main Street. So speak to the mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio, and we'll be back with more after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Thank you, Jason. We're now under 3 hours away from tip-off as the Aggies host the San Jose State Spartans tonight in the Spectrum. Now, you go back a month and a half ago, the last time these two teams met, it was a little closer than I think a lot of Aggie fans would like, as the Aggies were able to pull out a win against San Jose State, 85-78. Now, head coach Jared Calhoun says the Aggies, of course, had a tough loss Sunday, but they've bounced back and they're ready for tonight's game.
It's easy with our guys because they're not going to sulk, they're not going to pout. We've got a great group of guys, so I feel really confident that they'll move on from that loss.
We'll hear more from Coach Calhoun coming up tonight with our pregame beginning at 6:30 here on KVNU. Game tips off at 7:30, and then our postgame Aggie call will immediately follow afterwards. Well, two semi-trucks collided in Box Elder County, causing one person to be sent to the hospital. At around 12:30 Tuesday near Corinne, a semi had pulled over to the right shoulder and was pulling back into traffic when it pulled in front of another oncoming semi. Now, both semis collided. The driver of the oncoming semi was transported to the hospital in serious condition. Both southbound lanes of I-15 were blocked for some time. And a 21-year-old former Brigham Young University baseball player who is originally from Blackfoot, Idaho, has been charged in 2 counties now, accusing him of sexually assaulting children. Camden Dean Dally is charged in Fremont County with felony lewd conduct with a child under the age of 16. Now, according to court documents, Dally allegedly sexually assaulted an 11-year-old on or around January 1st of 2022. Now, according to a new charging document from Bingham County, Dally is also charged with suspicion of sexually assaulting another juvenile in a separate case. Now, Dally was arrested in Provo back on February 7th and was extradited from the Utah County Jail in Spanish Fork back to Bingham County. He is scheduled for a preliminary hearing coming up later on this month. And we are under a winter weather advisory that is going to remain in effect till about 5 o'clock tomorrow night, as the National Weather Service saying a possibility of 1 to 4 inches of snow possible in the valley, with 6 inches of snow on the benches, more expected in the mountains. Those who are going to be traveling through either Logan, Sardine Canyon may want to give yourself some extra time, especially overnight, as we're expected to see snow overnight into tomorrow morning. then turning into rain tomorrow afternoon as temperatures will get back into the high 30s. Storm's going to push out of the area, though, by tomorrow afternoon, and that's going to leave us with a mix of sun and clouds on Friday and more sunny weather for Saturday, Sunday. 50 is still possible as we head towards Monday of next week. And news and weather brought to you by Logan Extermination. You know, before long, snow's going to be gone, and that means weeds taking over your yard. That's why you want Logan Extermination to take care of the weeds and the insects around your property. Give them a call, 752-8450. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A shift in rhetoric and policy from President Trump, now blaming Ukraine for Russia's invasion. President Zelensky responding, saying Trump is living in a disinformation bubble. Republican Senator John Kennedy says Russia's Vladimir Putin is to blame for the war.
To the extent that the White House said that Ukraine started the war, I disagree. He makes Jeffrey Dahmer look like Mother Teresa.
Mass layoffs impacting federal agencies, including Health and Human Services, the FAA, and soon the Pentagon. Multiple officials confirmed to ABC News that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is ordering proposed cuts of 8% for the upcoming fiscal year 2026 Pentagon budget and the 4 years that follow. Pope Francis remains at a Rome hospital battling double pneumonia. The Vatican says Pope Francis's condition is stationary, and millions of Americans facing a cold night. The bone-chilling temperatures breaking records. This is ABC News.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Daines will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Daines for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Josh Birmingham and Edward Jones. U.S. stocks finished slightly higher on Wednesday, reversing modest losses at the open. The S&P 500 rose by 0.2%, while the Nasdaq posted a 0.1% gain. Leadership was broad-based, with most sectors finishing the day flat to higher, with defense sectors such as healthcare and consumer staples among the top performers. The Dow closed up 71 points at 44,627. The Nasdaq closed up 15 points at 20,056, and the S&P 500 closed up 15 points at 6,144. The bond markets, the 10-year Treasury yields were trading at 4.53%. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was down $7.88 to $395.43. Lowe's Companies was down $4.03 to $246.68. Nucor was down $2.75 at $139.77. Thermo Fisher was up $7.77 at $530.86, and Northrop Grumman was down $7.91 at $433.45. The price of crude oil was up 36 cents to $72.19, and the spot price of gold was up $1.10 to $2,950.10. This has been today's financial market report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Josh Birmingham, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. If you'd like additional information, please contact our office at 435-713-6925. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Want to set yourself apart from the competition? The Leadership MBA at Utah State University will help you lead companies and drive change in your organization. You can attend in person in Logan on Thursday evenings or take an interactive online class. Complete your MBA in as little as a year. Apply before March 1st to be considered for summer semester. Contact the MBA office for a waiver of the $55 application fee. Learn more at utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com.
on the next Handle on the Law.
Yeah, I want to know, is it okay if I shoot a raccoon with a bow and arrow?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine to shoot the raccoon with a bow and arrow. Now, whether it's legal or not, I have no idea. But I'm saying, yeah, go ahead and shoot the raccoon with a bow and arrow. I just want to be there when I see the raccoon get it with a bow. You have a problem with raccoons in your house?
No, but in my backyard, he killed my kitty cat.
Yeah, I'd shoot him. That's a shame. Yeah, raccoons are vicious.
Saturday afternoons from 1 to 4 on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio with us for Speak to the Mayor, a monthly check-in with Logan City. We've never had a single episode of this hour in which we've run out of things to talk about or wrapped up early or anything like that. So I appreciate the mayor's time in doing this and our listeners' time in tuning in as well. And we'll get right back to it, moving right along. Just a quick reminder, because a listener did ask, and I've posted this to our Facebook page and website, but the study, for those who can't make it to the meeting next Tuesday at Mount Logan Middle School, regarding Logan Main Street with UDOT and Logan City inviting anyone in the Valley, but definitely Logan residents to come and be a part of this discussion. That website is udot.utah.gov/US91 study, and I've linked to that on our Facebook page. Also, you can just go to UDOT's website, udot.gov, and click through their projects and public meetings tab, and you'll see it right there on the top. It is the next one on their public meetings calendar. So, and that is next Tuesday at Mount Logan Middle School, 4:30 to 6:30. And now we'll move along to, I actually forgot what we were going to talk about next.
I would like to talk a little bit about Logan's efforts to produce a new general plan.
Ah, yes.
That is the guiding document. It's a visionary document. It's not like the, every rule and regulation. It's the vision document for what you want your city to be like going forward. And again, we haven't updated it for 20 years. So the important thing is to get people's input. So we are going to try a lot of different things to try and get people to respond. But there is an event coming up in April, if you want to mark your calendar. April 10th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Logan City Hall. This is normally when the Planning Commission meets. So one of the Planning Commission meetings is simply going to be devoted to, a visioning workshop. We have some consultants that do this all over the country. They're great at it. And we are excited to have them facilitate this and help us, get feedback. We're calling it, Logan, this is Logan 2045. We want people to help shape the next 20 years of Logan. And, the kind of the website for the plan says, reflect, imagine, create. Again, a bit of a visioning, but you'll be seeing some door hangers, seeing some flyers that are passed out at City Hall, a little postcard. We'll be letting people know through the neighborhood council list, posters around. But the other kind of interesting thing that these consultants do, they have a do-it-yourself kits that are available to any group that's willing to host a workshop.
Really?
So if you have, a neighborhood, some folks in your neighborhood, if you have a club, if you have some kind of a group, we would love to have you come pick up these do-it-yourself kits. They should be available next week. We're kind of just putting those together. But please come and participate and get others to participate. So
that is a master plan right now they're always important, but right now, a 10, 20-year master plan is going to be so key in planning growth and in planning. And I assume as mayor, this is on your mind, and I'm sure the council thinks about this all the time, but Logan City being, landlocked, surrounded by other cities, basically, except on that east side, the decisions in other cities are also going to kind of increasingly meet up with decisions in Logan City. And so to me, it seems like the more a city has an idea of where they want to go, the more prepared they're going to be when, other cities come knocking with, hey, we want to do this, but it's going to meet right up against your plan. Or when the county or even the state steps in and says, we'd like to do this and that. If a city doesn't know where they'd like to be in 20 years, sometimes they can be blindsided by things like that, right?
Exactly. And for instance, on the west side, where we do have some room to grow, a few years ago, we actually changed our annexation plan and we pulled it, we reduced the area that we plan eventually to annex just because as you start to think, how do we provide services out there? Water, sewer? Because again, if you're going to annex land, you have to be able to provide services. So, and there are a couple of requests right now to de-annex from Logan and go into Nibley, say, because we have some odd boundary lines. I mean, going
that is a strange
out
one
US
down there.
8991, I mean, what used to be Ted's, but has now been finally cleaned up because the state environmental division came in and required them to do that, which was a great thing. Logan City actually goes that far south.
That's interesting.
And, we've talked with Nibley various times about just making a boundary adjustment, but sometimes it takes a property owner saying, I'm ready to develop. Okay, Logan. And we know we can't provide service. We can't provide utilities out there, water, sewer. So we say, of course, it makes sense for you to go to Nibley because they have water and sewer that's much closer than we are.
Makes sense.
So
you
again,
end up in the same place, but maybe bit by bit, as opposed to just drawing a new boundary.
And we tried to do a new boundary, and that gets challenging as well. And so we're doing it bit by bit. There's also one in Millville, it's along US 89, just kind of a cleanup because a plat map changed a little bit. But we try and work well with other cities and with property owners to say, of course, this makes more sense for you. You have our blessing. We'll go through the process to get it taken care of for you. But again, on the west side, there's a lot of property, and there are also a lot of wetlands out there. So it's going to be more difficult if people choose to develop out there in that direction. But, was that the right vision? Do people have, different visions? So, but a lot of different things are addressed as part of this visioning. So and participate or else you can't complain.
Yeah, that's exactly. That is, honestly, not to be, dramatic or hyperbolic. I think there's never been a time when being a part of a city developing a master plan or updating, in this case, a master plan for the next 20 years, in which that has been more important because and that's not to say I'm not, I would never encourage people just to show up and oppose everything that's going to change because everything's going to change for the Valley. We're growing so fast. But you can, being a part of the master plan or having that master plan set once it's all done, you can direct the change a little bit and say, well, we don't want this type of thing to play out this way. We know it's going to happen, but we want it to play out this way in Logan when it happens, for lack of a better way to put it. Do you have, as mayor and heading into the end of your second term, if you could just wave a magic wand and just write your own master plan for Logan, do you have sort of a top three priorities list?
Oh, wow, that's a good question.
Because you've had quite some time now to see, both on the city council and as mayor, to see how Logan has grown and changed. And I'm sure you could list the challenges for Logan out of memory right now.
And the things we've worked on, again, I'm really proud of our accomplishments downtown. We've worked a lot on trying to make things more pedestrian friendly. We can still do that. I mean, aging infrastructure is always, an issue, and we continue to try and address that and put resources toward that. I mean, the other thing that, we worry about is the housing crisis. And, we have these great historic core neighborhoods that have a lot of history.
Yeah.
They're often walkable to downtown, but we are losing families that are going out to the county. They just want a little more space. They want a newer home. But how do you, again, then they have to drive further to get into town.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of a challenge. How do you bring people into the older neighborhoods? Again, one thing we tried not too long after I was elected mayor was to, create these grant programs for people that wanted to revitalize these older homes in the core neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Homes over, 50 years old. They just need some updating by then. And we just didn't have any takers, so
which
very
surprised
few.
me.
I mean, again, you had to be at a certain income level,
sure,
and you had to show proof of that. But we kind of finally reprogrammed those funds towards something else. But again, I'd love to see strengthening our core neighborhoods and we appreciate our neighborhood council input and
Sure.
the folks that are involved there and, loving their neighborhoods and wanting to make them better and those sorts of things. But again, keeping our budget reasonable with providing services with the growth, police and fire and, all sorts of things. But we've done some great projects with transportation. Again, we have a separate transportation master plan, but, are those road classifications the way people want them to be?
That's a good question.
So lots of interesting things to think about. How should the zoning be? Do we, add more multifamily? Do we not? Do
Sure.
we?
And if you do, where? And,
Yeah.
a lot of variables.
Do we allow smaller lots so people can, build a home on a smaller lot and take more of the footprint? What do people want? So lots of things to think about.
And a lot of reason, as you just heard, to show up for these meetings. The April 10th, again, as the mayor said, part of the regular Planning Commission meeting on April 10th. But this is dedicated on April 10th to getting public feedback on a 20-year master plan for Logan, in which everything the mayor just mentioned will be discussed and will be something to think about going forward as the city grows and changes and as the valley grows and changes. It's fascinating. I imagine it's kind of scary sometimes as mayor or as a city, when someone on the city council listening right now that's thinking, oh, that's so overwhelming. But things have fallen into place pretty well for Logan City. To me, it seems like this is a great time to now kind of pause a bit and say, okay, let's look forward the next 20 years. What do we want to look at? You
always need to be planning and thinking, how can we do better? How can we improve? Because there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely. Again, that meeting is April 10th. Information on that can be found at loganutah.gov. And we'll be back with more of Speak to the Mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines right after this.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized for you and your family? When you work with Edward Jones in Cache Valley, they focus on what's important to you. They'll help you create a personalized financial strategy backed by their advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And Edward Jones will partner to help your strategy stay on track no matter what happens. Call one of our 11 locations for Edward Jones in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From everyone at the Westside Coffee Company, we are proud to be your gold winner for Coffee House in the 2024 Best of Northern Utah. We couldn't have done it without you.
Best of Northern Utah.
Hi, I'm Wendy, co-founder of Bell Sculpt. I know what it's like to feel uncomfortable in your own skin, worrying about how you look, feeling drained, and just not like yourself. Hormone changes, pregnancy, or aging can lead to weight gain and challenges that aren't your fault. That's why I believe so strongly in what we do at Bell Sculpt. I've had a procedure myself, and it transformed more than just my shape. It boosted my energy, metabolism, and confidence. If you're ready to feel like yourself again, Bell Sculpt is here to help. Book your free consultation at bellsculpt.fm.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio. Mayor Daines, the hour burns by pretty quickly. We were just talking about this, that there's always so much to get to that it goes by fast. We have about 3 minutes left in the hour. Do we have any final items that fit in a 3-minute time slot?
I will give a very quick summary of our dispatch center, and our dispatch director and our police chief are coming around to every city council in the valley to ask for an increase, because you may not know, but Logan City runs the dispatch center that dispatches for Logan Police, for Cache County Sheriff, for Utah Highway Patrol in our area. So we take care of all of that. And those expenses, the number of calls is increasing. We currently have 20 positions, but we only have 17 dispatchers. It's really hard to hire dispatchers. It's a high-stress job, takes a lot of training. They work 24/7, but we have not asked for a rate increase in 23 years, other than in 2013, we did implement a $1 fee. It was adopted for radio upgrades, which we just did. Again, that's to tie in with the state system.
And that was not really a choice, right?
No,
that was kind of mandatory.
We kind of had to do that. But again, after 23 years, the price has to go up a little. People, technology, equipment are increasingly expensive.
Sure.
In 2011, we had 39,000 calls dispatched.
Wow.
In 2024, we were up to 58,000 calls dispatched. And we have less people than we had then.
Mind-blowing.
So we're asking for a 10% increase this year, which would be 30 cents per month per residence, which will help the budget. And then over the next 4 years, so this is kind of a 5-year package, so we don't have to come back every year, there would be about a 10-cent increase every month or every year. Again, this is per residence, 10 cents per month, but that would help cover some of these costs. Again, the dispatch is run as kind of a separate fund, so all the money collected goes only to dispatch. It doesn't go to the city for other things.
Sure.
It's specifically for dispatch, but we just encourage, the citizens to be understanding when they potentially see that increase. We hope the city councils will approve that.
And we're talking a moderate, all said and done, even after the 4 or 5 year incremental 10-cent increases, we're talking less than $1 here, right, per month.
Right. And we realize people get hit with all sorts of fees, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. But again, everything is getting more expensive, and this is kind of a critical service.
Yeah, a bit, right? Without those dispatchers, the ambulances don't go out, the fire trucks don't go out, the police cars don't go out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is one to watch for. Again, as the mayor said, those discussions will be happening at city councils throughout the valley over the next few months, and keep an eye on that. And again, thank you to Logan City Mayor Holly Daines for her time, to our listeners for your time. This has been another episode of our monthly Speak to the Mayor segment with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines. Stay tuned. The County Hour with Cache County Executive David Zook is next here on KVNU Logan.